As weird as it is looking at all the new phones and apps and technology that are coming out right now, with augmented reality becoming more and more of the norm, the next phase of the rollout, I suppose. I don't know. I guess as I get older, it becomes harder and harder not to, in many ways, kind of regard just the entirety of, what we sort of generically refer to as modern society or civilization, or is basically being one giant project, one giant experiment of augmented reality. Not just in the tangible physical sense, but even on a philosophical level. I mean, ever since the beginning, really. I mean, isn't that what civilization has kind of always been about? And technology and progress and coming together. I mean, ever since the garden, and after the fall, God declared the curse upon, man and woman, the pain and childbearing and the working the land and eating by the sweat of our brow. And ever since then, it's just been a giant push to try and reduce that and diminish that as much as possible and economize that process. Collectivize ourselves, collectivize our labor, build cities, economies, kingdoms, empires, to remove ourselves from that simple, dirty, direct connection to the earth, to working the soil, living in accordance with the seasons and at the mercy of the elements and the weather and drought and famine, trying to reduce all these things. Isn't that what the whole process of civilization has been about? Trying to remove ourselves from that as much as possible, trying to overlay the natural world and the subsequent need to rely on God for rain and sun and give thanks, to convincing ourselves that we're really not dependent upon the Creator for every breath of air and everything we eat and need to survive. Isn't it all about just the self-delusion of independence and self-sufficiency? Not needing God. That's really the dream world that it's all creating. The virtual reality of being our own masters, augmenting our own existence. I mean, really, once we got to that threshold of electricity being harnessed and we were able to make artificial light, no longer was humanity limited to candlelight and oil lamps and fires at night. Cities could be 24/7. No longer were we restricted by the governing of day and night. Then, of course, the advent of automobiles and airplanes and all the trains and everything quickly obliterated the prohibitive reality of far-off distances. A city was no longer an isolated, standalone thing, but they could all be connected together into a network, augmenting each other. I mean, the whole thing is about augmenting our own perception of ourselves, artificially enhancing our own presumed ability to overcome first the minor inconveniences of the physical world, and then ultimately the major inconvenience of death itself. Augmented reality. Such a crazy way of summarizing so much of what the world ultimately teaches, what the Bible calls worldliness, the folly of man. Whereas the Bible doesn't teach augmentation, it teaches death and resurrection. Not just supplementing, not just augmenting. We don't just need to supplement our deficiencies or augment our inadequacies. We personally need to die and rise again. We have to be born again. No augmentation will erase the issue of sin. We can't hide from its reality in some virtual fantasy world, even though that's what the whole mass of humanity is doing, pretending that it's not real, pretending that we aren't really fallen, impressing ourselves with all these cities and accomplishments of civilization and these programs we can write and virtual worlds we can create and escape into. It's a chasing after the wind.